Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to another Get Your Fish on Live here Friday night on the 28th of March. We're going to talk to Cole Breeden here shortly. Just got done with the classic. Cole is an invitational angler that is just phenomenal. Phenomenal angler. Really amazing. So when we get him on, make sure you go check him out. If you're on Instagram, check out Cole Breeden Fishing on Instagram and all. Go make sure you check out all his stuff. But we had the classic last week, and I don't know if we'll talk much about the classic, but oh boy, the classic was. I'm glad the week of the classic is over. I can honestly say that it was a lot of work, and it's fun. I'm not really sure that it was. Hey Donald, I'm not sure it was the best classic I've ever seen. I will say I think Easton Fothergill is just a stud. So I'm very happy that he won and did well. So I couldn't be happier. I'm going to bring Cole on here in a second. Right now, Cole, how are you, dude?
I'm good. How are you? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Okay.
Sweet.
Before we start, because we're live right now, I have to do an intro. Wouldn't be fair if I didn't. Cole has won 4 times. Both times, well, 2 times in College Series, 2 times in the Toyota Series, both on Grand Lake and Lake of the Ozarks. You live there, right?
Yes.
Kind of, sort of. 16 top 10s. He has placed in the top 15 last year in the Invitationals. Currently fishing. Are you fishing some of the Opens I saw?
Yeah, I'm fishing the Division II of the Opens this year.
And you're fishing the Invitationals, which we're going to talk about.
And Invitationals and some Toyotas,
Yep. MLF College National Champion. His sponsors include Pro Choice, Marine, Berkeley, Abu Garcia, Picasso Lures. They make a great bladed jig, by the way, Picasso Lures. Modern Door Tackle, 38 Special Luxury Resort, Gorilla Grip, Breeden Shelter Insurance. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
Harry's Salon Spa, Mercury Marine, Don's Truck Towing, and Ginger Well Spa. You can find them at Cole Breeden Fishing on Instagram and everything else. And I'm going to be upfront with you right off the bat, just so you know. I watched you on day 1, and you had a camera on you at the last Invitational, and you turned around and started talking to the camera about what you were doing and how you were fishing. And at that exact moment, I texted Joseph and said, can I have his phone number? And if people don't know, Joseph is, for media people, is our media relations person, I guess, for Major League Fishing, I guess we could call him. I really don't know. But gave me all your contact information because I just thought you were so articulate in what you were doing, and it was so awesome. So I want to say good job on that to start off with.
I appreciate it.
How long who got you introduced into the outdoors?
My dad did. He was never a tournament fisherman or anything, but he, big hunter, fisherman, just, anything in the outdoors.
So what age did he start taking outdoors?
Just all growing up. I mean, I don't even know. Yeah.
Did the bug hit you when you got into college that you wanted to fish professionally?
No, I mean, I knew that from the time I was probably 8 years old, honestly.
Really?
Yeah, it's something I've always wanted to do in school. We talk about professions or what you want to do when you grow up, and that's what I said every single time.
When you have that goal at an early age, do you follow somebody or do you ask someone for help to kind of tell you the way of professional fishing, the ins and outs, or did you just go by it for yourself?
No, I never had that kind of person. I never even really knew anybody that even fished local tournaments. I was kind of just one of those guys that constantly watch YouTube videos. I wanted to see not even just about fishing, but the pros and how they live their life and what they do when they're not fishing. Like I wanted to know everything. So, I mean, all growing up, I was always intrigued. And it always seemed like such a far reach for me until I got into college, and I actually started learning stuff from people that were in the industry. So that's whenever I, really made a jump in the knowledge of everything.
Did you play any sports growing up, or was it just strictly outdoor stuff?
No, I play a lot of sports, and that probably was what kept me from fishing as much. And I actually played basketball and football throughout high school. Football was the only thing I did till I graduated, and I actually was looking at playing football in college, and that was kind of my plan, start of senior year probably. And then I started looking into I started seeing more about college fishing and how big it was getting, and I started reaching out to schools. And Rick at Jury, he responded to me, super fast, and they sound like they had a great program. And I made a decision to go there before I had hardly even talked to any other schools, which ended up being a great decision for me.
So, did you fish during high school? Did you have a high school team, or was it just you were
Yeah, I
fishing by
fished
yourself?
on the high school team. Actually, since I was in eighth grade, I started doing the high school tournaments, and I never really did any good at them, but I loved it, and still that was my favorite thing, was to do that. So I mean, that gave me some experience tournament fishing. I fished some small local stuff, my junior senior year, but never nothing super serious, because I had so much else going on.
Yeah,
I was real involved in school and everything else. So, for those high school tournaments, I never even really practiced or anything. Maybe one day here or there, but nothing crazy.
but the high school brought you into college. When you started looking at fishing and going into college, this is something that's I'm old. I'm
Yeah,
sorry. Uh, so, college fishing and high school fishing wasn't around when I went to school. When you're
right.
going into college, how how did you proceed into finding the right school or the school that you went to? Did they look you up, or were you sending them like information about yourself?
No, yeah, I kind of reached out to schools and was sending them information about me.
Yeah,
And I don't know that recruiting was really much of a thing then. It kind of is now, because
yeah,
the teams are getting so big. But at the time, a lot of these schools didn't have that big of a team. And like Jury, they were a school, and there's a lot of schools that are not school sponsored, and so they're kind of just a club, and they kind of have to
yeah.
do everything themselves. But some schools, actually get a budget for fishing and all that. So luckily Jury did. And I didn't really realize that whenever I was looking into it. But yeah, Jury was a funded school and had a coach. And I think there was only 6 or 7 people on the team, and then my first year there was 9. So it was a growing thing. And
Yeah.
so around that time you had to reach out to people, and show your interest to make it into school somewhere. That's how it ended up going for me.
Is that in Missouri?
Yeah, it's in Springfield, so about 45 minutes north of Table Rock.
Yeah. So yeah. Now, when you get into the college, do they because this again just find me
Yeah,
completely
yeah.
stupid in this thing. Do you have to go out and showcase yourself and try to gain sponsors, or does the college team have the sponsors and kind of show you what you need to do?
Well, like I was saying, every team in school is different.
Yeah.
You're not really seeking any personal sponsors at that point, nor do you have much to show for either. Um, and so, schools do get some sponsors, and it seems like a lot of the sponsors that are in the industry, you might get some free tackle or whatever. Like we always
Yeah.
got a bunch of stuff from Bass Pro, or we ended up getting Pure Fishing as a sponsor, which was great. But mainly, so the schools that don't have a coach or are not funded, they have to do a lot of fundraising, to pay for their own tournaments and all that. But the way it was for
Yeah.
us is we got a certain amount of money from our school, which wasn't a crazy amount, and then our coach fundraised a bunch of money too, and so that paid for all of our travel. And lucky for me, when I started, there was only 9 people on the team, and so I got to go to all the events, no matter what, because we didn't have that many people. But now, Jury, they kind of stay in that 17, 18 to upper 20s of people. and some schools have up to 80 or 100 guys on their team.
Oh
And
my
so
gosh.
I know it's crazy. And so, like, when you have that situation, obviously no one has enough money to spend or to send 50 teams to
Yeah.
tournaments. And so, um, there's starting to be more programs where, they have a point schedule, or you do have to prove yourself, or they're sending upperclassmen. They're not just going to send everybody at all the tournaments. So every school does it different, but jury now, they kind of have a point system, and then they have, just jury tournaments to where they can kind of rank themselves. So like jury invitational kind of deal.
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of like my little boy swims. So we don't go to any swimming meets unless they're invitationals, and he has a time standard to
Right.
qualify
Hmm.
for some of these things, which makes it real fun and in the competition better. So as you're going through college and you're learning, are you being taught about, I mean, point blank, are you who did your mom and dad get your boat for you, and did they outfit it with all the technology, or how did it work in that case?
So we had an older boat, that I fished high school out of and all that. But then I fished my first tournament in college and realized that I might need some better equipment. And lucky for us, our head coach was Rick Emmett. And at the time, he was the pro staff manager. He was kind of head of marketing at White River Marine. And so, he was in charge of all the pro staff, but also, he had access to a lot of connections and
Yeah.
whatnot. So I ended up getting, my parents bought, it was a used boat from one of the pros. We got a good deal on it with a trade.
Mhm.
So, lucky to have that deal, because, it is expensive to, have nice equipment and stuff. And
Yeah.
so that really helped. And I ended up running that boat, throughout my whole college career. And the good thing is too is, like, you can use in college they have a lot of incentives. So Mercury, Power Pole, Nitro,
Yeah.
there's a lot of incentives where you can win some money. And so I was able to use some of that money a couple years later to end up buying my first live scope setup. It was a combination of things like that. And then for a lot of equipment purposes, like I said, we had a lot of sponsors for our team. And so, we got a lot of free rods and reels and baits and stuff like that. So that definitely makes it easier, as a college kid.
Yeah. Yeah. I can imagine you're already kind of stressed out with school and then
Right.
fishing. It's probably a little crazy. Someone asked a question. I'll just go there. Are you required to have a bass boat? I know it sounds just like a stupid question, but just wondering if you compare up with someone else who does. Do they do that? Is that how they do it?
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, obviously, you're only taking one boat between two people. So,
Yeah.
if someone doesn't have a boat, or say they had a boat at home, but the boat's staying there and they're coming to school, then yeah, I mean, not everyone has to have one. As long as you're paired up with someone who does, then you can do the tournaments just fine.
So you're in college, you're doing well, you win the national championship. Then you say, how does your brain go? Do I want to go for the leaps, or do I want to go for the MLF and the BPT? Or do you just go, I want to fish as much as possible, make a name for myself, start working on my brand? How does it start after you decide
Yeah,
to
I
make that
think
move to
I
the
think when
pros?
you're in college, using as many routes as you can to get there and to build connections and maybe win a tournament, or win the classic bracket and get to go to the classic, or make it through Red Crest through the MLF side. I mean, you need to do everything you can to put yourself in a position to win a tournament, or do well enough to get noticed. And it's important during that time, because that's when you're growing and developing. And so a lot of guys, they might have good streaks and then they have bad streaks, and it's just with the whole learning process. And so the more you fish, the more opportunity you give yourself to get better, but also have good tournaments. And so
Yeah.
for me, that's all I wanted to do, is fish as much as possible, and try to win or get through whatever avenue I could. And then, after I won that championship, and then I guess the year after that, into my junior year, I really started looking at the industry as a whole and which way I wanted to go. And it was more of a financial decision than anything. Because, tournament fishing after is super expensive. I mean, your entry fees, opens or Toyotas, you're looking at almost $2,000 either way you go. Plus you got to pay for your expenses and stuff. And so, I was running numbers on those tournament trails and saying, how could I make this work for me? And it seemed like Major League Fishing, starting with Toyotas was the best way to go. Just for payout purposes. And, I like the way that they run their stuff. And so that's why I ended up doing, right out of college, or actually my senior year, I was lucky that it didn't overlap, fishing Toyotas with, the college schedule. And so I fished Toyotas, a full division of it my senior year. And I was able to, win enough money to not lose any. And so I ended up fishing the invitationals the next year after. And like I said, it's tough. And if you make checks, you can survive. And so, like I said, that's what I was looking at. If I can make a check as often as possible, where can I survive? And, that was the route that I took. And now, I'm fishing the opens this year, and they have a lot better payouts than they did when I made that decision. Because at the time, top 10 made a decent amount, but if you're looking down the field, the payout was not great at all, and not even where you can barely pay for your week of being there. And so I still think I would rather be right now on the Bass Pro Tour, over anywhere else, because you're paying a $5,000 entry fee, but top, 20 in every tournament makes $15,000. And if
more than that, $20,000.
Top 20 makes 20.
Yeah, I think so. And then
and if you, in the way that the Elite Series, slash their entry fees, it's not a good. I mean, in theory, not paying entry fees, that's really cool.
Yeah, it is.
And maybe you shouldn't have to do that fishing professionally. But if you look at the payouts, man, you got to finish in the top 10% or 15% in every tournament just to pay for your expenses of being there.
I think that's one thing.
That's
I agree. I think that's one thing most fans don't realize. They see the overall picture of maybe it's $15,000 from 10 to 20 or 11 through 20 on the BPT. But then it's $10,000 or something from 21 to 30. So I think what most people don't realize is that there's the expenses that you guys occur is a lot more than we know. Like when you're looking at what's the next tournament you guys have or that you're going to fish?
I'm fishing the Open on Norfolk next week.
Okay. Just out of curiosity, is it Norfolk or is Norfolk?
Norfolk.
Okay, Norfolk. Okay.
Norfolk.
I don't know why I think that. So you have what do you have, a $2,500 entry fee for that one?
It's $2,000.
It's $2,000, and then do you have roommates, or do you fish with, or do you go out with somebody?
We do everything on our own. I always room with somebody, to help the expenses, and it makes practice a little easier, working together a little bit. But I always stay with someone. But for the week, fishing wise, we're on our own.
Do you have and if you don't have to answer this by any means, do you know what you're like on average that an invitational or an open overall costs you, including entry fees?
I mean, it depends on how far I travel and how much gas I spend. If we go somewhere like St. Lawrence River and I'm driving 80 miles a day, it's a little bit different. But you're looking at anywhere from $1,500 to $2,200 for expenses for each tournament on top of the entry fee.
Yeah.
And so, for the opens, I just round up and do my estimates based on $2,000. So for that to be $4,000, and to cut a bottom check, you're making $4,000.
Yes, I think that's the one thing people don't realize. And we've had so I started covering bass fishing in like 2008, 2009. At that time, it was $100,000 to win. the money has not gotten any better at all.
No, it is not.
And it's just made the industry stagnant. It's made fishing a lot harder for everyday anglers.
Mm-hmm.
I consider myself an everyday angler. I would never pro fish because I would be horrible at it. But that's neither here nor there. So does that put added stress on you at the stage that you're at right now in your life, knowing that you're going to have your $4,000 and you're hoping to make a
Oh,
check at the
100%.
next
No, it's
event?
very stressful. Oh, yeah. And the thing is it's not, people think that we get a lot of sponsor money, but that's not the case. I mean, I find a little bit, and for me, it's mostly local businesses or, places that I do fishing trips for in exchange for, whatever they do for their business, stuff like that. But,
Yeah,
they're not throwing out money to make it easy for you. So really you have to figure out how to survive on your own. And so for me, yeah, this is my third year doing this full time, and yeah, to figure out how to make it work is pretty stressful because honestly, dude, the past 2 years, it's been 80 grand in expenses whenever and that, that's considering local tournaments. If I'm fishing any BFLs or anything, I throw all that into the same, but that's about what it is. And this year I'm fishing 18 or 19 tournaments, which is a little bit more than the past 2 years. So it might end up being a little bit higher this year. And I don't have that laying around, to
yeah,
just fund that season. I might
that's a
start
lot
off
of
the year
money.
with, yeah, I might start off the year with 10 to 15 grand. And then I just have to count on making checks or figuring out how I can do more guide trips or whatever. And I know that's how a lot of these guys are because it's like you said, it's a lot of money and it's stressful to figure out how to fund that for your season because that's a lot.
Yeah, you have it puts so much stress on you that uh, it can change the way that you're fishing, can change everything. So when you're going through college and you decide to make this jump and you're going to fish some invitationals, you're going to fish some opens, you're going to do all that, you're going to start to promote yourself and create a brand. Did you, at that point in time, did you have someone step back and go, "Hey, this is let me give you some insights on how the industry is because right now the industry is getting sponsorships is not easy." Did you have any help at that point in time, or no? You're still doing it on your own.
Well, like I said, our coach in college, he had a lot of connections and a lot of knowledge of just the industry and how it works. And
Mm,
so, I got a lot of help from him on how you need to go about things and how sponsorships work and what you need to do to make it in the industry. But really, that was about as much as I got, and everything else I just kind of had to figure out on my own.
yeah, it's tough, isn't it?
Oh, it's very tough. Yeah, it's not a
Yeah,
highly recommended profession to chase because
yeah,
it's not like any other sport or competition where you kind of know how you're going to perform. I mean, not exactly, but how fast you're going to run, what your times can be on everything. But in fishing, even the best fishermen have a hiccup every now and then or have little
yeah,
bad stretches of tournaments. I mean, it just happens. And it's
yeah,
not even maybe about your fishing. It could be other things in your life that affect your whole attitude, that you have that week or whatever. And so, that makes it tough. To have that expenses over your head, is just an added stress. And so,
yeah.
it's tough for sure.
So, like I said, I saw you on the invitational recently. You had day one, you had a camera on your boat. You had a good day one. Now, day one, you get to use forward facing sonar. Day two, they take away forward facing sonar for you.
Mhm.
When you have How does that come into play nowadays for you as as an invitational angler? Did that throw you for a curveball last year when they decided to change that? And are you more well? Let answer this question first. Are you more a technology based angler, or are you just an overall great angler together?
Well, I
And
mean,
you can toot your own horn.
I grew up, river fishing shallow around the lakes around us. And then, the first 2 years of college, I didn't have live scope, and I had to fish just like everybody else does. And I qualified for every championship that I could and won
Nice.
2 or 3 college tournaments in that span too. So I think I was a decent angler before, but the thing is about live scope is people think it's point and shoot and they get in your boat, but lets the good fishermen shine even better. I mean, you look at Jacob Wheeler. Yeah, he's absolutely untouchable right now, but he was a phenomenal angler before live scope.
Yes, he was.
And so, for me, I've always been. I mean, I didn't have side scan or anything, and I, tried my best to do everything I could to be better, which included side scanning a lot, fishing offshore. And so my first 2 years of college, that's what I did a lot of. I would side scan a lot of practice, find as much stuff as I could, and then, fish it, the best way that I could, but also, mixed in fishing shallow. And now the more I fish, the more I realize you have this all-seeing eye that you're able to use. And if you're not using it, you're getting beat by someone who is. So, if you're fishing, let me give you an example of like Hartwell that we had last 2 weeks ago. There's a lot of fish out deep that you can scope and stuff. And I was fishing back in creeks a little bit more where those largemouth were coming up to stage. And yeah, I was scoping them most of the time, trying to be efficient with my day. But if I came across a laydown or something, yeah, I'm going to make some flips in there, throw some baits in there, and then move on. And that might have been 8 or 10% of my day. And yeah, I caught some fish doing it, but I run these numbers every tournament thinking, okay, if I would have not spent the time fishing that, because I fish those pretty slow. I mean, that's how you got to get bites on them most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
If I would have taken that time throughout the day and just tried to scope faster and find more fish and throw at more fish throughout the day, would I have done better? And I think the answer is 100% yes. And I think that if you're not constantly trying to find a fish on scope, then you're wasting your time. And for me, like having these no scope days that we have on the invitationals, it didn't. I wasn't a fan of that decision, but it didn't scare me or anything. I was confident with that decision that I'd be able to compete. And you look at the last tournament, and I had a kind of a crappy day on day 2 without scope, but I think that reflects more of my decision making over me not being able to use scope. And the biggest thing is I had 22 pounds the day before, and I was stubborn to make a change, because the fish are there. They were there yesterday, and I was just real persistent on, okay, I know they're here. I'm going to get some to bite. And I lost a couple good ones where I could have had a solid day, but it came down to I should have made an adjustment, whereas instead of taking the time to make the adjustment, I ran to a different section of the lake and tried to make it work even more.
Dude, that is a great
So,
answer.
I can use that. Yeah, and I can use that going forward to help me. And every single day is a learning experience. And so, I'm going to be able to use that day for the rest of my year to help me figure out how to adjust with the fish quicker, because that's what really great anglers do, is they make that adjustment quick.
Yeah.
And I did not do that very quick.
Yeah.
So, the rest of the season going forward, I think that I'm going to do better than I did in the first 2. I didn't do real great in the first 2 on that second day. But both days I did lose 2 fish each of those days that would have helped me out a lot, and would have had better finishes. But it's the same for everybody. I mean, if you look at the weights that we have on day 2, they've both been extremely poor compared to day 1. So that's just how it goes. But I'm looking forward to see how it goes the rest of the season for sure.
What did you said you didn't make the change that you should have? What made you move to another spot instead of staying there? What was it, something that you saw when reading the water, or was it just a gut feeling?
Well, so I had 2 really good areas, and in practice they were loaded under docks. They were really easy to get to bite, and these areas were about 20 miles apart. And I started one that was further down lake the first day, and that's where I caught them all and had 21-15, really good day. And then day 2, I wanted to go fish for a fresh fish, and so I went to the other area that was 20 miles up the lake. And I fished there until about 1 o'clock. And I had a long day, so I had time to do this. But I fished up there till 1 o'clock and, had a small limit, nothing great, and decided to run down to that other area where I'd caught him the day before. And the adjustment that I should have made is that, it was a little bit, it was partly cloudy, probably mostly cloudy. And so that's not ideal conditions for them to sit under docks real well. But I know the fish were still there. I caught some and had some good bites. And the adjustment that I should have made was said, hey, it's a warm day. It's been warm all week. The water temperature is almost to 60. And I should have just gone, real shallow and probably covered water. And I don't know, it throws me for a loop because I did throw a chatterbait and, a coal shad at the bank for a while and never had any bites or anything. And so, that was in the back of my mind too. But I should have probably gone and tried to fish a little bit more shallow, maybe fish the very top ends of the walkways a little bit more, stuff like that. But, day 3, looking back at it, the fish were still there under the docks. It was just impossible to get them to bite. A lot of big fish too. They just were not interested. And it
I didn't
seems
get
like
much.
you have that. I mean, in the week leading up to the spawn, when them fish want to move shallow, it's super hard to get them to bite. I mean, you can see 4-pounders cruising the bank all day sometimes, but you can almost never catch one. And I think that's just kind of what funk they pulled into, because they're just about ready to move to the bank. So,
Dude, you're you just have answered the right question, and like, you don't realize, like, I've interviewed hundreds, maybe several hundred people, the greats in the industry, and they don't speak as well as you do. You don't realize, as a young man, and I say that nicely, I'm not, it isn't a dig
yeah, yeah.
against you. You just have a great attitude and personality, and you have the knowledge already, which is just crazy to think of. Maybe it's just, sometimes it's luck. You can go to a spot and it's good and it's bad. I have my frog pond. I was there just the other day. Couldn't believe it that I got skunked at my pond. It's a private pond. Nobody fishes it. Just,
Hmm.
you need to make the right changes at the right time. How how much do you pre-fish before, when you're allowed to pre-fish, when it isn't off limits? Do you do that
Pre-practice.
to learn? Yeah.
I hardly
Do
ever
you do
do
a lot
that.
of that?
Nope.
You don't?
No, I don't. And
You,
I mean, on my home lakes, obviously, because this is where I live. But
yeah.
going places, I don't ever go pre-practice.
Yeah, that's one of the things I think that it doesn't happen as much these days. I don't know why. Um, Probably because you can find, with technology and everything else, you guys are learning the lake so quick. What is your strategy when you go to a place and you're pre-fishing before the tournament? Do you have strategic goals that you look at, or places, or are you just trying to cover as much ground as possible that you can?
I mean, it's a combination of those two things. Obviously, I look at each lake and how they set up and stuff like that, and try to figure out. And I played this whole game based off what gives me my highest percentage chance of catching fish. And so I try to break before I go to each lake. I'll do a bunch of research and try to break down sections of the lake. Where should I spend most of my time? And then how should I spend that time in those areas? And so for me, I try to put together a plan. And I'm careful about saying that because in the past, having two set of a plan can be a bad thing because then you're
Yeah.
just looking for things that don't exist. And so I try to vaguely get an idea of where I want to spend my time, and then I just run everything. I mean, because you don't really know exactly when you get there where these fish are going to be at. The current plays a big part in, are they spawning yet? Are they not spawning yet? Um, Water levels, so many different things. And so I put my
Yeah.
troll motor down, and I want to see what the fish are doing, especially like my first days of practice. And so I try to cover as much water. I'll start on the main lake of stuff and go to the very backs of creeks, and I'll just move as fast as I can. And here's the thing too, is in practice you have this time to just go see as much as you can. And usually, whenever someone has a winning spot or area, it's just unbelievable fishing. It's just easy.
Yeah.
Whereas other guys that maybe finished 10th, they're around some good fish, but they didn't get very many bites in a day. And so I'm always wanting to find that best bite or best area possible. And so I think that when you find those fish, it'll be easy to see them. There'll be a bunch there. It'll probably be easier than average to get them to bite. And so, yeah, for me, I'm covering as much water as I can, trying to figure out where the fish are at. And then I usually try to run that pattern to find more. And then, by the end of the practice, I'm hoping to have found as much as I possibly can. And, as we're moving right now, into April, a lot of times these fish are moving up in pre-spawn and post-spawn. They sit on pieces of cover a lot, whether it's around a bed or not, and they'll be there for maybe a week or two. And so a lot of times I can go find a fish in practice and mark him and come back and catch that same fish in the tournament. And I love tournaments like that because I can go mark as many fish as possible in practice, 50 or 100 fish.
Yeah.
And then I can go pick out, what I think are the biggest fish and make those my first 5 stops of the day. And then, turns out well, and then I can go look for more, but for me, it's moving fast and just trying to find as many as possible.
Are you more of a power fisherman or a finesse fisherman? What is your favorite style?
I'm more of a finesse fisherman. Maybe like power finesse, I like fishing a worm a lot.
Me too.
And I always have 10 or 12 rods on the deck, honestly. And for me, it's figuring out what works best that day. And more times than not, I only need 2 or 3 rods that I know that I'm going to throw most of the time. But dude, I have to have everything ready to go just because if I see one little thing where I want to make one cast, then I need to have that ready to go. So I'm not wasting time, trying to rig that up or look for it. And, the main thing is that if I see a fish and I throw to it, what's the highest percentage chance that I can get that fish to bite, which oftentimes is a finesse presentation. And so if I'm not starting with that, then I'm making a mistake. There's no point of throwing, a big jig at a fish or a big swim bait or something like that if I don't have to. Now, there's sometimes a year where you have to throw something really heavy or you have to throw maybe a big glide or something to even get those fish interested. But 90 to 95% of the time, that's not the case. You need to throw something smaller, something that I can get that fish to bite with. And especially if I'm trying to visit 30 fish in a day, like how can I catch the highest number of those that I can?
Yeah, the best percentage. I always feel like a worm falls in front of a fish. I feel like they're going to eat it.
It's so hard to beat a worm. So hard.
Yeah, I agree completely. I know I've caught grief a long time ago. People saying all you can do is throw a worm, and it's like no. I would love to throw a chatterbait at all times, but sometimes they're not eating a chatterbait, and I feel like a worm works perfect. How much after you've done the pre-fishing for the day, and it's just before the first day of the tournament? How much time do you spend rigging, putting new line on baits, and getting things ready for that first day of fishing? Is it hours or is it?
Oh, it's 4 or 5 hours probably. And luckily for most of these tournaments, like the invitationals and the opens, we have an off day where I can just take my time and, be able to mess around, go take a break every now and then. But I want to have everything as prepared as I can. I try to get everything completely, ready on my boat so I don't have to really worry about it in the morning either. So, for me, it takes a while because like I said, I like to have a lot of rods rigged up and stuff like that.
Yeah, having 10 or 12 on the deck is probably the average of most anglers. It's just it's just how it is. So it sounds like you have a busy season this year. You're gonna fish the invitationals, which is how many invitationals are there this year? 8 or 9?
There's 6 invitationals and we have a championship.
Okay.
So 7.
Did you qualify? Have you qualified for the championship, or is it?
Well, you got to be top third of the field, so we won't know until the last tournament. But yeah, I'll make it.
I know you will. Are you going to fish both divisions in the opens or just one division?
No, I'm just doing the one division this year because that's already 19 tournaments that I'm going to be fishing.
Yeah. Holy cow, you
Yeah,
got a
it's
lot of
busy.
stuff.
It's a busy year.
Yeah. It's cool though.
Oh
I
yeah.
mean you're living out a dream, aren't you?
Oh yeah. This is unbelievable. I mean, it's so cool. And the really cool thing is that my wife gets to travel with me too, and she works online, and so that makes it so much better. Like 2 weeks ago, we just had a span of 5 weeks in a row where we didn't come home fishing tournaments, but that'd be a lot harder to do. If you had family at home that is waiting
Yeah.
on you. So I don't think I'd be able to do this. If she didn't come
Yeah,
with me
that's really cool.
or fish this many
Yeah,
tournaments.
that's really
Yeah,
cool. Congrats to her. That's awesome. Having that
yeah, yeah. It's very
having
cool.
that
Yeah.
having her with you, does that calm you down in fishing or does it
I would say it makes my days better for
yeah,
sure. And the good thing is that, I'm more relaxed, or if I have a bad day, it makes it better rather than me just sitting there thinking about it by myself.
yeah. How much do you talk to the other guys about what's going on or do you just try to keep those secrets
No,
to yourself?
so I travel for the invitationals and Toyotas with past 3 years with Drew Gill, and
Oh
we
my
kind of started.
gosh.
Yeah, we started fishing Toyotas at the same exact time, and we started traveling together, just us two. And he's surpassed me a little bit here, but
He's
we
on fire right now.
he is out. He dude, he's an animal. But we started, and the first Toyota that we fished and stayed together, we talked about it beforehand. We're like, all right, let's figure this out together. Let's share information. Let's try to do the best we can. And we both had a really good tournament, and we're like, crap, dude, honestly, if we want to be pros, we have to do this because of how
Yeah.
efficient we can be working together. And so that's what we've done for the past 3 years is, I'm on the phone with him between 1 and 4 hours every day of practice, and we're just trying to figure out what the best bite is. We don't share spots or anything, and
Yeah.
rarely do we actually fish in the same areas. But we're figuring out what the best thing is on the lake, that we possibly can, and so that helps out a ton. And then last year we started traveling with Britt Myers Jr. He's my age too, and doing the same thing with him. And I think to have good guys like that around you definitely helps,
Oh, for
because
sure.
it is so hard to learn and do well on your own. But whenever you have guys working together and thinking together and sharing ideas, it makes things so much easier. And these past 3 years, I've excelled my knowledge more than I ever have because of that. So I
Yeah.
think that's almost a necessary thing, if you're doing this.
Yeah. I mean, having Britt and Drew and yourself, man, you guys should be doing like a podcast or something when you're,
Yeah.
I guess are you guys getting a house and sharing the house? Is that how you guys do it?
Yeah, yeah, we usually get an Airbnb that's big enough for
Yeah.
us and split the house, yeah.
Yeah. I would think that would be you guys might want to consider that, to be
Yeah,
honest.
yeah.
That would be a
Yeah,
good
we've
one
thought
for
about it,
sure.
just stay dude, it's just hard when you're fishing sun up to sundown, and
Yeah.
then it's just I wish we had time for it because I know how important it is, but it's difficult to do that and fish for a whole week.
Yeah. Uh, having that, because that's been the in thing for the last couple years. Wheeler, Avena, and Daniels Jr. and Dustin, they getting that together, and they've been very successful because it's not that they're sharing information, is that they're talking about what they saw or do during the day.
Right.
And it's only been recently when this has been something that anglers are starting to do. I think it's a great idea, to be honest. I think it's a great idea. Not only saving money, that's a great idea too,
Mhm.
but having that information or explaining what you might see or what you didn't see will hopefully help you catch fish. Drew is one of those guys that just seems to be on fire though right now. I mean, he is on fire.
He's unbelievable. Yeah, he's crazy. I mean,
Yeah, that's a good three, man. That's a good three, to be honest. That's
yeah, for
crazy.
sure.
So when the tournament starts, you have the first day of forward-facing sonar, second day without it. You said earlier that you weren't really happy about it. Is it just because you can catch more fish with the technology versus when you can't? I mean, I agree with that. Is that the key?
Well, I was disappointed with my days. Is that what you said?
Well, no. Uh, like so, day one you have it with
Yeah, yeah.
technology. Day
Yep.
two you don't. And earlier you said you didn't really. If in a perfect world, would you rather have it just
Oh,
forward
100,
facing
yeah,
throughout?
100%. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
there's no need to not have it. Um, and it's, I mean, the thing is like you're also showcasing what truly lives in the lake. I mean, why would you want to see people go out and catch only half the fish that they actually could?
yeah,
I mean, and people complain, oh, I don't want to see them catching that way. Well, guess what? We're all facing away from the camera and we all set the hook and reel them in. I mean, what's the difference? And I understand it's cool watching me to buzzbait or stuff, but you're seeing so much more fish catches. And now, whenever you have that split screen showing your live scope, I mean, that is, dude, that is so cool to be able to see the fish, what they're doing, see what these guys are, because a lot of times you don't see what they're on. You can't tell if they're in, 10 foot or 50 foot or what they're throwing at. But we know with this new technology, which I think that they need to get on it a little bit more and get more of those boxes that show your live screens.
hmm
Um, but with that, I mean, it truly shows what lives in the lakes and how these guys fish, and I think it's just so cool. So, I think it's amazing. What you see in tournaments now. I mean, dude, the Toyota Series schedule this year, the weights have been absolutely incredible. And
Look
I
at
think
Harris chain today.
I know the dude's leading with 25 and then 33 today. And then yeah,
Ridiculous.
it's insane. It's insane. And it shows you a whole new population of fish, that we didn't catch before. And I think it's just amazing, how many fish actually live in our lakes, that you just
Yeah,
couldn't access the same way.
I'm going to brag about a friend. His name is Josh. I don't want to say his last name because I don't want to get him in trouble. But 2 weeks ago on the Harris chain, 5 fish, 42.7, and one of them was a 5 pounder.
That's crazy.
All scoping,
Yeah.
all scoping.
Right.
Just ridiculous weight, just ridiculous. And I know he came in first in the tournament he was in,
Yeah.
but those were all spawned fish. Those weren't pre-spawn, or they were all done.
Right.
I
Yeah.
think I'm not a big fan of forward-facing sonar, only because the only time I've ever used it is with when I go crappie fishing, and
Hmm.
I love watching, I love watching anglers catch fish. I think I think the one drawback, and this is exactly why I wanted to talk to you, is you were using forward-facing sonar on the day one, but you communicated perfectly everything that you were doing and seeing to the camera. And it was like, if everyone could be like you, we might not have all these people that dislike forward facing sonar. It's one of those love it or don't love it. But if you're a pro angler and you're not using it, you're going to get your ass handed to you. No offense.
Absolutely.
It sucks to say it, but you're going to get your ass handed to you. But like I said, you just communicated so well that day that it was just like, I was just like, okay, why can't everyone be like this young man Cole? I need everybody that's using Forza's. And I even
Yeah.
said to Joseph, I said, you should listen to what he's saying and tell all the other anglers that this is how we want them to communicate.
Right. Well, the
So
thing is, dude, is like, when you have days like that and you're seeing all those fish eat your bait, it's so exciting and so much fun to see that happen. And like I was saying, I wish that everybody could see that as they're watching us fish. But it's I just feel like you have to relay what's going on.
yeah,
Whenever you have that many big fish, doing something, it's a great time to tell people what's going on because it doesn't happen like that very often.
yeah, yeah. it was really impressive. That's the best way to say it, man. As an old man who's 52, I was like, oh, it was refreshing. It was really refreshing. I remember texting Joseph like immediately. You must send me this guy's phone number. I asked for two people's phone number. I don't know who the second person I asked for. So is the goal to, I guess the goal is to get to the BPT, correct?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, your visibility fishing on that tour plus the payouts for it are just unmatched right now in the industry. So
Yeah,
if something else changes, that might change for me, but that's definitely where I would want to be right now.
yeah. It's a tough with them only taking 5 people from the invitationals.
It's extremely tough to get there. Yes.
Yes,
Yeah, very. I mean,
extremely tough.
you can't hardly have any slip ups. You have to have a phenomenal season to get there.
Yeah, it's
So
all about consistency.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And you gotta, I mean, if you look at the invitationals average over the past, 2 years, I mean, you have to do so well. I mean, you almost have to top 15 every single tournament if you want to get in that top five because these guys are just so good now. And something that I didn't realize until I started fishing the invitationals is how good the competition actually is. And even the opens or Toyotas. I mean, these guys catch them so well. And even if you're on a good bite, that doesn't mean anything really. I mean,
y-
in terms of trying to win a tournament. I mean, these guys and they don't slip up. They always catch them. It's crazy.
yes. And with BPT going to 50 anglers next year, then you're going to see. Well, the problem is a lot of guys that aren't going to qualify for the BPT will probably end up going fishing the opens because they're just going to be pissed off, and that just seems to be the thing to do. I think that I think BPT has a better platform right now than Bass. I'm not trying to take shots at Bass at all, but I think BPT has a better thing. I mean, even the quality of the invitationals, the platform itself, with the video quality and the uh, audio quality and everything that's going on, BPT's just made some big strides. What did
Mhm.
Just out of curiosity, did you have to go work the classic, or were you home last weekend?
No, none of my sponsors were at the classic, so I didn't go.
What did you think of the classic, if you don't mind me asking?
Fishing aspect, I mean, I thought it was a pretty good event. It was crazy to see how it ended up going.
Yeah,
And I'm really glad that Easton, had took the win there.
yeah, me too.
He's one of the most phenomenal anglers, and I know he's had a rough start to the year, but dude, just watching him over the past couple years, I mean, he's up there like in the top five
I know.
with his with true ability,
Yeah,
and I think that's really going to show, from here on out. But he is so good at just finding fish; it's incredible.
yeah, I
So,
was really happy to see. His story is amazing. I did a
oh
video
yeah, for sure.
months and months ago as saying, "Is Easton Fothergill the real deal?" Because last year he was awesome on the opens. I mean, ridiculously awesome on the opens. And I think the opens and the invitationals are some of the hardest and most competitive fishing there is out there, because there's a lot of anglers in the opens and in the invitationals that are. I mean, look at Latimer. I mean, he's been trying to make it into the BPT for years. That guy is a great angler. Um, and it's just one of those crazy things. I felt like, and I said it in a couple of videos, I felt like this past weekend we really didn't see a lot of fishing at the classic. We saw more like interviews, and I just didn't feel like there was enough strictly fishing.
Well, I agree with that, and I think part of the problem was that they weren't catching enough fish. There wasn't a lot of guys that were catching 5 fish
Yeah,
a day. So I think they're, lacking in the actual fish catches to be able to show you anything. And yeah, I agree with that. I mean, there were several times I got on and I was like, what's
yeah,
going on here? I want to see like where are these anglers at? What are they doing? And I feel like there wasn't a lot of coverage on breaking down what the guys were
I
doing.
agree with you.
It was just, hey, let's have you commentate this fish catch, and then hey, how about you
Yeah,
try it? It was
it wasn't my favorite classic. I know I've already had too many calls, but it wasn't my favorite classic, and that's just being. I'm not trying to be mean or anything, but it just it didn't work for me this year for the first time in 20 years or so, whatever it is. So it is what it is. That's how it is. So what's
Mhm.
your next tournament? And tell people, are you gonna are you gonna start doing YouTube videos? What are some of your upcoming goals?
So you said tournament. I'll start with that. So next week we're going to Norfolk for the Open. Week after that, Toyota Series at Kentucky Lake. Week after that, Invitational in Smith
Holy
Lake,
cow!
in Alabama. Yeah, yeah, it's a lot, but it's going to be a finesse couple weeks, which I like. Getting close to that late pre-spawn kind of thing. So I'm looking forward to it. You know the media thing is so big in the industry. Like catching fish isn't even as important as being good on social
I know
media. I mean, obviously, and it kind of sucks honestly because it's not easy to do. I mean, especially if you're trying to beat all these other guys, while you're out there fishing, you need to spend every moment that you can with your tackle, studying the map every night, thinking about what you're going to do the next day. You're fishing from daylight to dark, and so it's tough to do, but it is
it is necessary.
so necessary because you can't. It's hard to rely on your earnings to pay yourself. So that's something that I've looked at is like hiring a camera guy to come with me to do videos for tournaments and get a lot of pictures and content for sponsors and stuff like that. So as I'm starting to win a little bit more money and have that income to be able to do that, I think that's the direction I'm going to start going here soon. Um, and
It's
this year
not easy.
it's not easy at all. And like my wife this year has been helping me post more on social media, like in the mornings before the tournaments and after the day's over and stuff like that. So we're trying, but like I said, it's so hard. And then, when you do YouTube videos and stuff, it takes a lot of hours of editing and, it's a lot to do all that. So I'm trying to move in that direction more. It's just a hard thing to incorporate.
Dude, put a GoPro on the back, put a GoPro on the front, send a Dropbox. I'll edit it for you. It won't take
Yeah,
me any time. And I do graphics for a living. So if you need help, you have someone here to help
you
you.
know what you're doing. Yeah.
Yeah, I think if you would have asked me that when I did the radio show, if you would have asked me 10 years ago, should anglers be online? I would have told you no. I would have told you it costs too much. It's not worth
Right.
not worth all of it. You probably would have to spend $80,000-$90,000 for an editor and a cameraman or whatever it is. That's a
Right.
lot of money. That is a lot of money. These days, I think that if you're not doing it, it hurts you. Like I'm horrible at Instagram. I'm horrible at Instagram. But I know way too much about YouTube. Like I shouldn't know as much as I know about YouTube. But I get up every morning and I read about the algorithm and how things are going. And even then, it's just such a slow pace to get followers and subscribers unless you win. And for
Right.
you, you have a bigger, overall bigger platform that you can promote yourself at the opens and invitations and all those things to help build your brand. But building your brand is unbelievably important for you
Yeah, for sure.
because at some point in time, even if you don't do good, then you can rely on YouTube or Instagram or TikTok. I'm not a TikTok person, but you know what I mean. You can
Yeah,
rely
yeah.
on social media to get the word out about your sponsors. And then when the times are good, that's only going to help you propel yourself to get more sponsorships. Because
Right.
I'll be honest, I think sponsorships are the hardest thing for anglers to get these days. I don't know what you
Mhm.
think about that.
Oh, yeah, I agree with that 100%.
Yeah, everybody wants, the content creation and you have to do well at the same time. And like you said earlier, you're not going to be able to go out to every place and do well. There's very few Jacob Wheelers or Drew Gills right now that are out there.
Mhm.
And even Drew probably, I don't know, does Drew have a channel? I don't even know.
Yeah, I mean, him and I both do that, we just don't post on very frequently.
Yeah,
So he's in the same boat as me. It's just hard to, do on your own.
yeah. Well, I really, really appreciate the time. I think that you are a fantastic communicator, so I would continue working on that. And if there's anything that I could ever do to help you out, I hope that you feel free to call and ask upon me, and I'll do whatever
Yeah,
I
I
can.
appreciate that. Yeah, thank you.
I really appreciate it. So I want everyone to go check out his Instagram. When he puts up a YouTube channel, I will post something on the YouTube channel. Even though I'm a small channel, I only have 22,000 subscribers, but I work my ass off on this.
Yeah.
So I really do. It's tough, but I think you have a bigger platform than what I probably would have because I'm just doing it solely. But I really appreciate the time, and hopefully you and I can get back together and talk more fishing. And again, if I can ever help you, dude, I hope that you
Yeah,
would.
I
I hope you
appreciate
would
that.
feel
I'd
free to
love to be
ask.
on again.
Yeah, dude, you just keep what you did that day. Honestly, I wish everyone could see it. I almost grabbed the clip to show everybody on here, but I didn't ask, so I probably didn't want to get in trouble. But
Yeah, right.
you know what I mean. So I'm going
Yeah.
to let you go, but thank you, and best wishes to you and your wife, and just keep being yourself, dude. You're a great angler.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
So we will talk soon, but thanks again, and I'm not going to end it because I'm going to go into some classic stuff. I don't want to kill you with classic stuff. You
Oh,
don't
yeah,
want to
you're good.
you don't want to get into my realm of bullshit that I'm about to talk.
Right. All
So
good,
thanks
man.
again, and I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thanks,
Later,
Steve.
man.
I appreciate it. See
Thank
ya.
you, man. See you. Go follow that young man. I'm not joking. If there's honestly, if there's someone you should go follow, that young man is it because he is literally fantastic communicating and talking about what he has going on. And he is phenomenal. So follow him and check him out. And if when he puts up a YouTube channel or whatever he does, like I said, I would edit his stuff for free if he needed it. That's the truth. He is absolutely amazing. So, does anyone want to talk about classic crap? That's what I'm going to ask you guys. And I didn't post all everybody's stuff, and I apologize, but go check him out. We are getting dirty. Uh-oh. I don't know. That is I don't know if that's good or bad, Steven. I don't know if that's good or bad. Seems like a good dude. Yeah, he was phenomenal. Phenomenal communicator on what was going on, and it was just refreshing to see someone at his age. And maybe he's just a really good multitasker. Maybe that's the best way to put it. He can multitask really well, and he was able to fish, talk about what he was doing, and go from there. So, what was everyone's thoughts on the classic? Let's not trash the classic, but let's talk about it. What was everyone's feeling? Did everyone I mean, was I completely out of line with I felt like there wasn't a lot of fishing going on and there was more people, doing interviews and talking about the possible fishing. Am I off on that? Because I'll be honest, I had an amazing response from the videos last week. And what day is it? 28th. And while I'm just being upfront and honest, I just have to say thank you to you guys. I know I try to say thank you in all the videos that I do, and just tell you how I feel and stuff like that. And there are times that I get a little pissed off at some people on the comments, but I try not to. But the last year has been phenomenal. If you don't, a lot. Carol had fun. That's good. I gave Carol a media badge, so I'm glad she had fun. If you don't remember last year, there was a short little clip about me, and it changed the way um, that I do videos. I did a lot of closer look videos on lures and stuff like that, and the video came out, and it didn't make me look good. And the truth be told, I forgot the name of their podcast. It was a mental break. It was a mental fart that went on, and I caught a lot of grief from it. I didn't appreciate someone calling me out on it, and it made me change how I was going to do fishing. I've said you got to this, but I'm going to be honest. My goal the last year was to not only showcase that I wasn't a phony and a clown and a bitch and all the other things that were told to me. And I needed to walk on the other side of the aisle. If we saw each other, you need to walk yourself on the other side of the aisle. That was said to me. And what it did was it motivated me to become a different person on here. And it was, the truth be told, I was miles behind. I was miles behind him. I mean, he was at close to 20,000 subscribers, and I was at 12,000 or 13,000. And I had 2.5 million views, and he had 3.4 million views. And he's had a great run and still does. I'm glad he still does well. And my goal, I just needed to prove to myself that I wasn't a phony and a clown and all the names that were called to me. And then a couple days ago, we surpassed. We surpassed my goal. 6 million views for the channel. 6 million views on the channel. 22,000 subscribers. Just almost there. We're at 21,899 or something like that. The other channel's at the other channel is behind me by 1.874 million views and a couple hundred subscribers. And if you think at where we started last April, where I was at 13,000 to 20,000, and now I'm ahead of them, I just have to say thank you. Hold on, let me post that. Happy dance time. So I just want to make sure I just always say thank you. I really do. It's been a lot of work, but at the same time, it's been very it's been successful, and I'm really humbled by the growth of the channel that has happened over this year. So, yeah, he who shall not be named, anyone, yes. Yeah, I mean, I wish I could share some of the things that were said to me. And some of them were said to me from another angler, and he and I have become friends, and I trust him very much. The other person, I don't have anything negative to say about him. That's the truth. I don't watch him. I just try to make sure that I keep, just like John said, I keep hustling. I try to come up with my own ideas, do my own thing. I know it isn't for everybody, and I do realize I do need to continue to do some of the closer looks. I do have some new stuff. I did get a bunch of these little things. These are the new Evos chatterbaits. So I have a bunch of those. Ah! And they have very sharp hooks. So I'm just really appreciative. So let's get off that because I don't want to stir the pot. I just want to be honest. I have said it before. You took the high road, Steve. I appreciate that. I've tried to take the high road for this whole year, but honestly, my goal was to jump over top of him. And I think if you look at I'm going to show you this. So this is exactly how things have went. And if you can tell, like I said, I was at 2.4 million views on the 2nd of April. He was at 3.4, over a million over me. Right now, I am 1.9, almost 1.9 million views over him. So in the last year, I've had 3 million views. So compared to his few 100,000. And in subscribers, 13.5 to 19.8. Now I'm at 21.9 to 21.7. So thank you. And what did I say? And yeah, that actually got me. So I'm gonna do some more closer look stuff, and so you're gonna see that. So that's awesome. I appreciate that. You want to? Steven's like the best commenter of all time. I try to be as straightforward as possible. There's times that I'm not. Sometimes I can't. I wish I could stop fishing with. I'm probably 100% right. I will say I don't use it. I use a spinning rod when I throw a frog sometimes. Sometimes I don't. Right now, literally, I haven't picked up a spinning rod in literally months. Because I'm fishing a worm, a weighted worm. So I've been really going after stuff like that in a fluke. Well, if I use a fluke, I do use a thing. So, what was everyone's thoughts on the classic? Was I completely, utterly full of crap, or did you agree with me? And what were your highlights of the classic? I would like to know what Caro's are for sure, since she was out there doing it. Um, what does that say? Wonder how you can fit. Yeah, don't say that. Tell him, Michael. So I don't want to take his side on that, and I would agree. So years ago, when he had the issue with Jim, I was all over Jim about it, and I didn't agree with it. And you know, I think there's times where well, I don't even want to say that. Here's the real deal, Steve. Rain boots are like cowbell. I have a fever and cures more rain boots. Yeah. I had someone comment so one of the things that's good about having a channel that when you start getting the amount of views that we've had over the last, and when I say we, I want you guys to know that everybody in here, this is your channel as much as my channel. I know I'm the unfortunate ugly face, but you guys are a huge part of the success of the channel, and I appreciate that. So when I say if I can do something for you, I want you to email me. I'll give you my phone number. I try to reply to everybody. Now I will be honest. There is one or two that I've given my phone number and I've had to go, okay, I can't do anything to help you. But it is what it is. I want to see, what does that say? I just want to see more fishing than any. So Donald, I guess you and I have just become best friends. I agree completely. And next was John says 100% agree with the review, sir. You have really and truly dropped the ball on covering the actual fishing. They have. Yes, I agree. I think this year was just so weird. And maybe what Cole said was right. Maybe because there wasn't so much catching going on that played a big part in what was happening. However, it was a lot of commentary. And I know Peter Miller. I've had Peter Miller on the show. I didn't think Peter did good. Um, so, and I love Peter. Caro said I met a bunch of folks. I wanted to embarrass myself at least 3 times and needed to go do it again. Bassmaster her rocked. Oh, that's great. Just out of curiosity, did the media credential help at all? Other than now you have a little, I don't even know where mine are. Maybe I threw mine away, my old ones away. I'd like to know that, Carol. Michael says, what's the point of the halftime show? Seems unnecessary. Couldn't agree more. So I caught a little bit of grief about saying that the itsy bitsy spider and what was the other thing? Oh, the gender reveal was cringy. Now, and here was my take on that. First off, and here's me defending myself on why I said they were cringy. First off, when in life have we seen the NBA or the NFL or the NHL or the Major League Baseball that they bring out a gender reveal during an event? Now, what was said to me was, because if you don't know, I'm a massive basketball fan. I love basketball. I probably watch more basketball than I do fishing. So when when that happened, it was thrown back at me that maybe I should look at TNT more, because TNT does all these fake things and they push people into Christmas trees and all this other shit. And then I fired back at, but do they do it at the World Championship of Fishing? When do we have a gender reveal during the NBA Finals or the World Series or the Super Bowl? When, in all that coverage before the Super Bowl, have we ever had a gender reveal? Or people go on the Itsy Bitsy Spider. And to be honest, I like the Itsy Bitsy Spider a little bit more because I know how much Fletcher or Hunter is in love with his son, the Shyrock, whatever. I know how much it means to him. However, at what point in time do we go, okay, this maybe is too much? And I'm not putting blame on anyone at all. I want to make that very clear. I don't want to make that. But I think there needs to be better decisions. That's the way I looked at it. Remember, y'all, Thomas is still doing his thing, Steve. He's going a lot of direction. Yeah. Yeah, Thomas is he's in that room right there. He's got swimming. So I couldn't sometimes I can't go to classics or do the stuff I want to do because he is more important than everything. And yes, why have a halftime show that doesn't include a scheduled break in the action? It's forced. Precisely, exactly correct, CT. Kara said it did. People paid attention when I asked questions. Just took a while to get it. Yeah, you want to you don't realize how much work it is when you have a media badge. And anytime I can get one for you, Kara, I'll get it. I turn on live when I get to work. I work my day and check in every 15-20. Seemed like every time I looked, there were commercials. Oh, the commercial breaks. Great comment, Daniel. Commercial breaks were ridiculous. I mean, ridiculous. I didn't like that at all. I like watching local high school basketball. Yeah, me too. I actually keep up with college and high school stuff a lot. I love basketball. I grew up playing basketball all the way to college. They do stuff like that just to show it live. It's pre-show stuff. You're right, they do. But at what point do we go, okay, enough is enough with that? If they're going to do it for a pre-game show, I just don't want a gender reveal. I just felt like it was really forced, and I felt like it was disingenuous, and it was cringy. That was just my stuff. Maybe they happen because their guys are getting lucky afterwards. Football has a halftime. Basketball has a halftime. Fishing, no halftime. Well, they're trying to do something different, CT, with the halftime show. I just don't think they've found their niche yet. The first tournament was horrifying. That was ridiculous. I must say, watching Dave choke down that egg, yeah, I think it made a lot of people laugh. I think that Dave. I think that I'm not putting any of this on Dave. That's the God's honest truth. I think Dave works really hard. I mean, if you really want to keep it real, Dave memorizes every person's stuff. That's ridiculous. I can't remember a podcast name. Hence why I don't do anything. I need a script or something. But Dave memorizes all that stuff off the top of his head. And so you have to give him credit for doing that. It just when you have to make Dave burn time, I think that's when really things go crazy, because then he's trying to force something or make something work that maybe isn't his idea. I also think that they just were really slow at bringing the anglers in, and that hurt him. I think Dave does, like I said, I think Dave does a great job at what he does. But when you're making him draw out stuff instead of getting things in and out, that hurts him. Steven says Dave is the best part of bass. I think Zone is the best part of bass, but Zona isn't there all the time. Dave's a great person. In a rare serious comment, can we talk about the weigh-in and keeping the fish in bags for hours in an old school way that needs to go away? So I heard, and I am not, this is not official. I mean this. I don't want to catch any grief. I heard that there might have been a 50% mortality rate. And the problem is that those fish, some of those fish that were caught were spawning fish. And hopefully those ones don't die. But the mortality rate probably wasn't what we thought. And they had great aerators, but it's the problem is that you catch a fish early, you keep it in your live well, and it just keeps getting longer and longer. One of the things that I said in one of the videos, there's a video coming up about um I did another classic video. My top 10 things I think I don't even know what the name of it is, to be honest. I was gonna post it this week. I'm not. I'm gonna give the classic a little bit. I should run it right up because the classic is still good news. But I did another thing going over all your guys' comments, but the top 10 things I think. I'm not sure that there's, like I said, I'm not sure what the official numbers are gonna say for the mortality rate, but they've got new live wells and doing all that. So it was kind of crazy. Check some truth. Did he say? I thought he retired, but he came back for the tournament. Caro says, hi, everyone. CT is that? No, that's Steven said Zona is great. I agree with you. Have you heard from Chase after your video? I am not allowed to comment on that situation. There's no schedule break. If you're going to do a halftime, you have to stop the fishing. Oh, that I didn't even think of it, Eat Squawk. That's great. So if Cole is right and you're catching fish, we would never get two before and half of them are dying. Not a good combo. Kind of makes Randy look right about the aeroid impact. Randy probably is a little bit right. Randy gets a lot of heat though, man. Randy and Ben Milliken I think are the most hated anglers on YouTube. And that's I don't mean that disrespectfully or any of that, but man, the grief. The video I did with Randy, the live I loved. I thought Randy was fantastic live. And I'll be honest, I kind of like Randy. I like that he's honest and upfront. But boy, the comments afterwards were just unbelievable, horrible comments. I mean, he just got completely beat up on every aspect, and I don't like that. I mean, here we are, everyone's talking about how everyone's being positive in the we should have more positivity in the industry. I got to be honest. Anybody who says that doesn't understand that positivity isn't what everybody wants to watch. They want the drama. They want to know all the ins and outs and the bads and the goods. The positive things don't do as well on views. Anybody who says, "Oh, all I do is think about positive stuff," they're not telling the truth. It's very hard to stay positive in this industry because there's just so many things that happen that go on behind the scenes that people don't realize. I mean, take CT for example. He got his media credentials taken away because of something that was probably said to somebody else. And why those people even shared it with the people at Bass is even more bullshit. And truthfully, I did those videos, and during those videos, I was questioning if my credentials would be pulled, and that sucks because not everything is perfect. Okay, I can go on and on. On the day 3, the Super 6 call killed the moment of the show. Yeah, I think that Trey saying that he wouldn't have caught. That he can't catch fish without forward-facing sonar. I wish he wouldn't have said that. Let me see. Scott Martin maybe joining Randy and Ben. Scott, I don't know if, and I think I think that was swept under the rug, and I don't think that'll ever, no matter. That's how it works on the weekend. There are time periods exactly. There's a time period they can do what they need. They can run commercials, and BPT still runs a lot of commercials too. But it isn't a quarter as much as what Bass did. It was ridiculous. Herb, I it really is the right way to do now. There isn't signal man, just not doing yeah, catch weight race. I agree. I wish they would. And at the classic, they have a marshal in the boat, so they could do it without any problem. Why didn't that come up? I don't like Ford Fest and but I think Fothergill will be your champion. I'm glad he won. I agree with you, Stephen. Fothergill is amazing. Yeah. Pound it. Pound and noggin. See ya. So yeah, I thought I'm glad the classic is over. You know, I felt like I watched way too much classic. I felt like this was the first year. I was going to try to do a live after every video. I saw, if you guys don't watch Tyler Berger, I think that guy looks like the guy on, and I say this respectfully, I think that guy looks like one of the guys on Dude Perfect. So every time I see one of his video pops up, I think it's the Dude Perfect guy fishing. But Tyler did a video after everything. I think so did Todd Castledine. But I went down that road and said, here's when I started writing down notes and doing things that I thought would be good for afterwards. And then it was just, how much time do I want to spend on this? So that's why I didn't do it every night. Could have done a, a live show, a live thing like this, and we could have all talked about what happened that day. But I didn't know if it would be something that you guys wanted to watch. I'm not really sure how. I don't these lives, while very interesting and fun, I'm not sure if you guys love them. Then I'll continue to do them. I think you guys love them because you guys can chat with each other on the chat more than anything. And if that's the case, that's perfectly fine too. I don't mind doing it and just sitting here talking and talk about stuff that's going on in life, just because the chat does well. So it's always fun to see all this stuff. Yes, he did. I tried to root for him last year, but couldn't make himself. Yeah, I think so. There's a possibility, and I'm not sure about this. There's a possibility that I'm going to do a video that uh, might not be one that um, everyone likes, unless you are actually part of seeing the classic experience as a live attendee. It just seemed to be a grind. Texas Huntsman, you're 100% right. It's like iCast. I think I've mentioned this a few times. iCast is so hard, man. I wish I could. I wish I had a group of people that I could take to iCast to just help me out and make me work harder. The problem that when I go to iCast, you're setting up interviews and so forth, and somebody comes in and gets in front of you, and then your interviews, just keep getting pushed back and back and back. That's what happened on the classic. And at some point in time, like this year for the classic, when I had to look at it as a business standpoint, is getting a plane flight, getting a hotel, getting a car. I probably would have Ubered and do all the stuff, food and stuff like that. And to be honest, the food I wouldn't really worry about too much because is food at the media center for media, and I probably would have had lunch there. But dinners I would have had covered from sponsors or people that I know. But you just get so drained out over those 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 days. And iCast is the exact same way. iCast is just, 35 minutes from me. And when you figure out, even though I don't have a plane flight and it's just gas and parking and food at that point in time, and that's food for lunch, dinners are usually covered by everybody, all sorts of people for the classic or for the iCast. Then you start, like for me, I had to look at it financially. What am I going to do differently at the classic versus what everyone else is out there? And then I just came down to, I didn't think it was worth it. Now, I really would have liked to have gone to the classic because I would have liked to see Airship One from CT. I would have laughed my ass off. But um, it's just, you just have to look at it differently. I think we should get some airtime. Yeah. Uh, yeah, I like that. You better. So, and in iCast, I did register for iCast, so I'm 99.9% sure I'm going to go. So it's just a lot. It's not that I'm scared of a lot of work because I mean, you guys see it. I hope you see it in the videos I do. I've got 13, 14, 15 videos ahead. Members get to see the videos ahead of time. So most of those guys are seeing things 2 or 3 weeks ahead of you guys. And and I haven't posted. I don't usually post videos on Saturday and Sunday, but because there's so many that I've gotten so far behind that now I'm trying to catch up. Pound it, Donald. Being the Super Bowl fishing, the commercials are expensive for vendors like the real Super Bowl, I imagine. I agree. It was out of control. I don't know if the commercials are that expensive. Um, I will, just for you, Carol. I think because it's an online platform, I don't know if the commercials are that expensive. But I don't know. They are not remotely close to what's going on because you see the same commercial time after time after time. There's no change in commercials. And in the Super Bowl, you have a different commercial break and you might see the same commercial one or two times, if that. We saw the same things nonstop. Chinese buffets are great, but the penalty after, exactly. And luckily, you go to the classic and or you go to ICAST and TTI Blakemore has a fantastic dinner I'm invited to every year, and there's a Costa party, and there's all these parties after ICAST, so you get invited to them. They have great, they get good food, and you get to go out to eat. So it's always a little bit more fun. I mean, Sonia, the wife, goes to the dinners with me. I bring Thomas and Sonia with it. Yeah, ICAST and Expo are a completely different target audience. That you're completely right, Herb. 100% right. The ICAST is for media and for buyers. Expo is for the public. I do think that they let public in sometimes on Friday of ICAST, and it they let a lot of the kids come in. I've been to two ICAST. It's fun for sure. Yeah, I think ICAST. If you've never been to ICAST, it's fun. So that's it. John Long, you could, if you need help with doing during I I can apply for a badge for you, and you can, you can come in for sure. Yes, thank you. I really appreciate it. We're gonna end this here in a few minutes so I can go make some dinner because I'm a little hungry tonight. So we'll do another. So I'm gonna keep it real. I think next week I'm asking a big name to be on here. I'm hoping that they can. And I've reached out to a bunch of people to talk fishing. So we're gonna keep doing. I'm gonna try to do one or two, maybe three interviews a month, and then one just us talking because I think this is important that we talk as a community, go over things that's going on. But there's lots of videos coming up. So again, I appreciate you guys. It's been a fantastic. The last 2 months have been fantastic. I will say, I just have to say thank you for the year. It's unbelievable. Carol, I can send you homemade pizza. If you want me to send you a picture of the homemade pizza, I have destroyed homemade pizza. No joke. I am the king of homemade pizza. If you're in Apopka, you want a homemade pizza, text me, call me, come over to the house. I'll make you one. Hold on, let me read this. Steve, I get. Oh wow, that's the time I get up every morning. I hope you do well. Bob, what's that CT? I don't know that one. Oh, might have been Place to Eat. Great show, thank you. Didn't. Yeah. Well, there was a football game. One of Thomas's friends' daughter was in a flag football game, so I go down the street to the amphitheater and watch them play football, and you know, just trying to support the kids. So we'll have another interview next week, and we'll just keep pushing. And I just want to say thank you to everybody. You guys have been absolutely rock stars, and I just can't say thank you more. So thank you for being part of the team, and really, you want to know, you're not just part of the team, you're part of my family. If you need my help, email me. I'll give you my phone number. We can talk. I'll do whatever I can to help you. But I really am appreciative of everybody who's made the channel grow so fast over the last year. To think that we were at 13,500 or 13,000 last year in April, and now we're pushing that 22,000. Dude, that is ridiculous. Ridiculous growth for the channel. So thank you. So everyone go check out. CT actually has a 5,000 subscriber thing, so go check him out. Again, if you guys need my email me. If you need me, I'll reply and give you my phone number and just thank you. So everyone have a good night. Have a great weekend. Make sure you take a kid fishing. Tight lines, cheers, and get your fish on.